Charles has vowed to stand by his views on planning and architecture and said he was proud to have been accused of being the enemy of the Enlightenment. He was reacting to criticism from architects who've agreed with his comments on their modernist, well, not agreed with his comments on their modernist designs. Now, Charles has his own battles with modern buildings, and he seems to regard the aesthetic pleasure they may or not bring as debatable. So do you think that he has a point? Are we really affected by the architecture that surrounds us? Does it affect our own sense of well-being?
Well, it certainly is debatable, but, you know, the problem that he has encountered, and this is why he's made that speech, is that, you know, people are they're not debating it. They're basically saying that he's trying to stand in the way of everything, and he's not. You know, everybody is entitled to their opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, I do agree with him. I do think that sometimes architects go too far in order just to be modern. You know, some buildings you see are just absolute monstrosities, and when you look at what's been taken down to actually replace it, you've only got to look at, like, any footballer's house to know that, you know, they knock down lovely old houses and build monstrous mock Tudor mansions, and you just think, that's a crime, you know, that shouldn't be allowed. And you often look at things and you think, well, how do they get planning permission for that? You know, there are streets in London that have got beautiful old Georgian or Victorian houses, and someone's been given permission to knock one down and build a glass cube. And you just think, how do they get away with that? And it does affect you. It does affect me. I do enjoy architecture.
I know what you're saying, but the thing is, it is all about personal taste. I mean, the person that has built the glass cube house, horrendous to you, but your house might be horrendous to them. I mean, it's got to be about personal taste. You know, not every footballer buys an old building and knocks it down,
well,
but
not
the
all
ones
of them,
that
no,
do, that's what they want. It's their land, they've got the money. If that's what they want, then they should be allowed to do it. And, you know, I love London for all the old buildings. There's no better scenery for me than along the Thames with the Houses of Parliament and all of that. It's beautiful. It's what makes London for me. But at the same time, I'm not dead against either some modern buildings going up.
No, things like the Gherkin are kind of iconic in their own way, but I think what his objection is that, you know, if you put alongside a building like the Houses of Parliament or Westminster Abbey a modernist house or construction, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. It has to be, there's a context to everything. And I think, actually, the way the buildings that surround us have a huge effect on how we feel. You know,
But isn't that just the modern and the old coming together? And for everyone that loves the modern, they might hate the House of Parliament. It doesn't mean we're all going to love the House of Parliament architecture.
I think most people would prefer it to a glass cube. And I think, you know, what he's fighting for in this particular instance is he didn't want the army barracks in Chelsea knocked down. And there is a context to that. If you look at the surrounding areas, then it's very, as it stands, it's very in keeping with its environment. And you put something modern in there, it's going to stand out.
I agree with Coleen. I think it is personal taste. I mean, I've had a very old house that I had. And I'll tell you, there was nothing more depressing because it was damp, it was cold, it had an order on it that I couldn't do anything to it. So I was freezing cold. I was glad to get into a flipping new house to get my central heating on and my double glazing in, I'll tell you. But I do. But then you've got to think back to... There probably were loads of people who hated the Houses of Parliament when they went up.
Do you think?
I can just imagine Prince Charles saying to Michelangelo, I don't like what you've done there. you know, you've just made a mess of that roof. It's a personal thing.
Well, it is hidden, of course it is, but, you know, you can't stand in the way of progress, and you have to build new buildings. Yes, I agree. And, you know, the perfect example is the Louvre in Paris, the most beautiful building, unbelievably beautiful. And then they plonked that glass pyramid in front of it. But actually, somehow, it really works. And it's so pleasing when you go there and just stand in front of it. The contrast works. So, you know, he's not standing in the way of everything. He is just standing up for tradition in the
I think all things
traditional
arty
sense.
are definitely, you know, in personal opinions. I mean, the perfect example for me today was that thing in the paper, and I say thing, that was auctioned for £65 million. That sculpture. That, to me, is absolutely...
65 million.
Is absolutely... horrific. If you bought me that for my birthday, I'd never speak to you again. Except if you had £65 million, I probably would. But what I mean is, to me, that's horrendous. Now, what I hate...
You'd prefer a comedy doormat, wouldn't you, love?
Absolutely. You've got me sauce, Joe McDonald.
But
you know what I mean? It is a matter of opinion. Now, what I hate is somebody who's very arty going, that's because you know nothing, darling. I hate people that are patronising with their opinions.
Which they do.
Which they really, really
And I
do.
also think, you and I will know this, that men who go in and design theatres and dressing rooms always put the mirror with the lights round it over the sink. Now, for a woman, that is ridiculous, because we can't put us makeup there to put us makeup on. So, obviously, that's been designed by a man who is going to shave up of it, you see? There's another thing.
Yeah.
And
hotel
also...
rooms.
Hotel rooms, you were
Hotel rooms,
saying.
the socket is never near the mirror for you
No.
to dry your hair.
No.
So you have to dry your hair, run to the mirror and go... and then run back.
No, but listen, not
2
all...
hours to dry your hair.
But not all architects are men, and a lot of them are women, but I can guarantee you that all the architects that design the big buildings that are really tall and long and shaped like that are definitely men. I reckon.
OK, time for a final break, after which...